it'll shine when it shines. It was a dark and stormy evening. This is the introduction for my Shining vlog. I am so excited about this one. I have never read a Stephen King book. I've only listened to an audiobook once years ago of Carrie, but I've never actually read my first proper official Stephen King book with my own eyes, and I'm scared. I'm actually kind of scared. Mostly I'm scared that I'm not going to like this too much. Well, we're gonna see. I'm gonna be reading The Shining. If you are new on this channel, hi, my name is Emma. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic to meet you. How did you find your way here? Did you get here okay? Did you drive through the mountains of Colorado to stay at this remote hotel? I love snow in hotels. Those are like my two favorite things. Some of my favorite things in the world. In literature, those are probably my two favorite like topics that I love, and cats. So many of you have recommended this book to me that it's high time. I love this cover so much. This is the vintage edition. Oh, it's so pretty. And it's so buttery, so floppy. It's the perfect paperback to read my first King out of. I'm actually already 90 pages through, but I just want to read a little tiny bit more because I'm just at a part right now that I want to finish before I give you my very first like reading update. The same thing, the same feelings I got a little bit listening to the audiobook of Carrie, which I listened to during like the pandemic. Just like that really queasy, unsettling feeling in your stomach of just like incoming violence. That's really what I'm feeling the most, and it's not a great feeling, but we'll talk about it more in a few minutes because I just want to get to the end of this chapter because he has just arrived. The whole family has just arrived at the Overlook Hotel. I read some more of The Shining before bed last night, like it was the last thing, I guess, in my brain or that I was doing before falling asleep. And first of all, I had the worst sleep of my life. I'm so exhausted. I just made some coffee. I don't think it was actually the book. I haven't been having great sleep for like many days straight now, so I'm like off of it. I'm just so lost. I had some really bad nightmares last night as well. Some ranging from just like unpleasant to much more scary. Do I blame Stephen King? I don't know. I'll tell you one of them, okay, and you can interpret the dream for me. It's scary for me because it made me feel really bad. It just left me feeling really icky and kind of gross and just upset. But I had a dream where not only did I have like Calcifer and Grendel, who are my two cats, I somehow had 3 more cats that I had forgotten about since the day that I had got them, I guess. I just completely forgot that I had 3 cats. I have like 5 cats in total, and then I went down to this basement, like the house that I was living in, and I found one of the cats. 2 of the cats, of the extra cats, like hated me because they're like, you forgot we existed. And then one cat I found was like pretty shy and small, and then I like turned back to the cat, and it had grown like 5 sizes into a pig. It had turned into a potbelly pig, and then the potbelly pig was not being nice to me, like it tried to attack me. What does it mean? Why are my cats turning into pigs? Now in this addled frame of mind, I'm gonna keep reading The Shining, which I think is the only way to do it. Hi! It's my real cat. Don't turn into a pig on me, okay? I finally made it to the point I wanted to get at, which is when they're just left at the hotel completely alone. So if The Shining is something completely new to you, first of all, there will be spoilers in this video because I asked the public, I asked your opinion, and everyone was like, bring spoilers back. We follow a family. I wouldn't say they're a happy family, okay? Everyone is not telling each other something. Everyone is holding in something that they don't want to admit to the other, and it's just extremely dysfunctional while at the same time trying to scrape it together and maintain the semblance of being a normal family because we have a husband, a wife, and their 5-year-old son named Danny. Jack just got really addicted to alcohol and drinking and fell deep into alcoholism. This led to him losing his job at the school where he taught because he was a teacher. He was gaining like a lot of respect, and he also wanted to be a writer. I feel like there's so many Stephen King books about writers and people writing. But yeah, he was like having a great old time writing his own novels until one day he just got really fed up, and I think he like, what did he do? He twisted he threw a kid on the ground or something, or like he grabbed a kid and was very physical with them and injured that kid, and so obviously he was let go and fired from his job. So now his new job, that kind of the only one he's been able to get with this reputation, is being the caretaker of a hotel as it closes up for the winter in Colorado. It is completely like snowed in, the roads are blocked, and he's taking his family there, of course, and he's hoping that not only is he going to be able to like have a job and support himself and his family, but because of the secluded nature and the kind of just like loose casualness of the job, he's going to be able to write his novel in the hotel with like little to no distractions. I think I love Danny the most. I really, really do. I typically don't really like books that are written, or sometimes written like they change kind of perspectives to like a child's perspective, but in this one I'm not really minding. Danny is their 5-year-old son, and not only did Jack hurt like someone at his school, one of his students, he also broke his own son's arm, because one night he came home drunk, saw his son like rifling through all of his papers in his office. He had like made a huge mess. He's just a kid, he doesn't know what he's doing. He like wrenched his son away from his papers and he broke his arm. And so everyone is trying to cover this up. Everyone's trying to like forget that this happened. Obviously Winifred, his wife, Wendy, thought about divorcing him over this, but he was like, no, I promise I'm gonna change, like it's gonna be okay. There are some topics in books that really freak me out and that I just don't like reading about, and I feel like everyone has something, whether it's like something in their personal life or just a certain topic that they don't like reading about for whatever reason. To me, people dealing with addiction is one of those things that really gets to me and really affects me. And so like with The Shining, that's a huge thing. That's a huge topic, because of course he's going to be locked up in a hotel with just his wife and his small child, and there's no alcohol at the hotel, none left over, and he didn't bring his own, and so it's also a quest and a challenge and a struggle towards sobriety at the same time. In that same conversation, I'm really curious to see if this book actually frightens me, because I think with a lot of literature, I think it's hard to scare with literature, except on like a very deep existential, like huge, I don't know, like huge topical level. Do you know what I'm saying? I went through a period where I was reading a lot of eco-lit, and so everything about climate change and ecological disasters, like that is obviously deeply frightening and affecting, but it doesn't like scare and horrify in the same way that, for example, like horror movies would evoke that kind of feeling in you. I think when I read horror novels, like if we're talking about that kind of fear, I'm not like a huge horror novel connoisseur or anything like that, but I definitely have not found any that have made me really scared or like kept me up at night kind of thing. I think maybe The Woman in Black was one of the last ones that scared me, but like I was pretty young when I read that, and I don't think it would scare me now at all. I don't think ghost stories really scare me. I think it's more stories like this about, really it's just stories about violent men that freak me out, because that's like a real fear, and I think that is probably going to be the most unsettling thing. Already 140 pages in, like I have that uneasiness, very large uneasiness, and I'm not sure if it's because like Stephen King, I'm not sure if it's his writing style or if it would be literally anyone writing about these topics that would make me feel uneasy. I have the same feeling in Carrie, where I think he sets up this world that just feels extremely threatening. The reason that it's called The Shining, I guess let's just get into that, is because Danny, their 5-year-old son, has the ability to potentially see into the future, but also see things that have happened in the past. So that's what is known as shining. He has the ability to shine, and he kind of like, he's always had, oh wait, has he always had this, or has he only had this after the trauma he went through with his father? They go on the closing day, they get everything set up, they get a tour of the hotel, and the chef, Mr. Halloran, yeah, takes him aside, and he's like, oh hey, like you can shine, because they've been having conversations just in their own head. So not only is it the ability to see the future, potential futures, to see what's happened in the past, but I think certain people, it's explained, who have this ability can also communicate to each other just through their thoughts. I don't know if I like the supernatural ability. I do think it's really interesting when it comes to the hotel, because again, this like plays so much into my love of hotels, because hotels are places with so much history. They see so many people pass through them day in, day out. Hotels are notoriously the site of so many killings and murders, and thefts, they're hideouts for criminals, and they're also places of like great joy and happiness, like honeymoons and wedding receptions, and basically they're a venue with just so many different functions who see such a wave of people and the public and the population pass in and out. They're just a place of continual absence and leave taking, and therefore history, because they leave so many marks all over the place. And that's one thing that I think, who said this? Halloran, that's one thing that he said. Not only has Danny been having visions, like before they ever get to the Overlook Hotel, about this imaginary friend that he has, which is connected to his ability to shine, is this thing, this dude. I don't really know what to picture when he says Tony. To me, Tony is like a little wormy Muppet. In the movie, I know that Danny says that Tony is like inside him, in like his mouth or in his stomach or something, which is so creepy. So Danny has been getting warnings from Tony like not to go to the hotel, but Mr. Halloran is like, yo, like you can shine, it's okay, like these things can't really hurt you. Or rather, he says he thinks these things that Danny sees can't hurt him. He's like, they're just like pictures in a book. That's how it is in this hotel. I don't know why, but it seems that all the bad things that ever happened here, there's little pieces of those things still laying around. I don't know why it should just be here. There's bad goings on in just about every hotel in the world, I guess, and I've worked in a lot of them and had no trouble. Only here. I will say that like reading The Shining flies by. Like you will read 10 pages in like a minute, it feels like. I also like that it starts with 3 different quotes. We have this huge paragraph from The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe, and then we have one from Goya that's the very famous "The sleep of reason breeds monsters," and then "It'll shine when it shines." Welcome to Stephen King night. I am very cozy, bundled on the couch, and things were just going fine. And then I swear I looked away for like 2 seconds and shit has hit the fan. Everything is going wrong. We just had like a nice scene where Wendy and Danny go down into the town because they can still drive, and like that's something that like obviously you don't get in the film. I feel like I'll be comparing it quite a bit to the film, but they make like a couple trips at least down to the town before the snows close them in, and they're like doing all their Christmas shopping and stuff, and then they come back to the hotel and like Jack is there and he's finally having hope that he's like putting aside his demons, and he did it in like a very symbolic way because he got stung by a wasp first, but then he like cleared out this wasp's nest that he was very proud of, and he's like, wow, it's so symbolic. And then as kind of a gift, he gives what he thinks is an empty nest, because he used like this bug bomb that is supposed to obviously kill all of the wasps and clear out the hive. And obviously Danny's like ecstatic because it's the coolest thing ever, and he puts it in his hotel room. Jack and Wendy are being so happy. She's like, this is the happiest I've been since our honeymoon. Everything's going great. Danny's like, wow, my parents love each other. Life is good. No one's getting a divorce. And then they go to bed and literally everything hits up. Because like literally 12 seconds ago, everything was fine. We were thinking we're gonna be okay. But then Danny locks himself in the bathroom when he's just supposed to be brushing his teeth before bed. And he has one of his like fits, I guess, or like his, not seizures. They're like when he's talking to Tony and Tony like drags him into either like a memory of something past or a precognition of something to come. His parents obviously freak out. They have to like break down the bathroom door. Danny's like freaking out, and he's saying things that are really triggering Jack's memories of when he like basically just absolutely decked a 17-year-old kid. And then he like loses his temper and he screams at his kid who's like just had like what appears to be a seizure. And I was like, okay, well that sucks, but thankfully Wendy had decided that she wanted to book them like a doctor's appointment the next day in town. Like, she's just gonna get everyone checked up before the winter comes and they can't get any medical care. What they're doing the next day. And I was like, okay, great. But the chapter wasn't over. Okay, the chapter was not over. They go to bed after Danny has like calmed down from these like terrible things that Tony has just showed him, which half of the time he can't even remember. He like knows he's seen something absolutely traumatizing, but he can't remember what it is, which is fair because his brain is obviously like protecting him. They go to bed and then they wake up again to their son screaming, and they run into his room, and what's happening? He's being mauled by wasps. I don't know why they didn't put that in the film. That's scary. That's horrifying. That's so horrifying, because the wasp nest that everyone thought was like cleared out, even though Wendy was hella suspicious of it, she's like, I don't want that in my son's room. But Jack was like, no, I promise, I like bug bombed the shit out of it, there's no more wasps in it. Turns out somehow there were, even though Jack like knows, and he swears that he like shook the damn nest and so many wasps fell out of it. They run in and their kid is being like bitten all over his hand. Like, his hand has like at least 11 wasp stings in it. Sorry, not bitten, stung. It's just so creepy the way that it's done, because like, where are these wasps coming from? Like, are they regenerating? And obviously all the symbolism that Jack went through with like conquering his demons or whatever, the wasps are back. I'm having a really good time. I am just very happy because honestly I was not expecting to really be enjoying my time with it too much, but I have to say I am. Like, I honestly am enjoying my time. Look at, I have so many questions. I'm so scared, but also I'm not like, I'm scared of what's gonna happen. I'm not like actually terrified as of yet. However, it is still very creepy. But the major thing, now that I have kept reading a little bit further and I'm around 292 pages in, I just am so happy that like this is giving me exactly what I wanted the movie to give me, and that is just so much more hotel. I just wanted so much more hotel from the film. Like, obviously The Shining, the film has so many iconic scenes of long shots down the hallway, which I just eat up, and of course like you get to see a lot of the hotel, but the movie doesn't really seem to focus on the hotel itself, whereas the book is really seeming to. I'm enjoying it so much, and I have so much to like tell you and update you on, and oh my god. Let me find the quote that I was like, ooh, heck yes, because it had to do with the night that I just finished, I think, telling you about in the last update, with like the wasps nest and this poor kid. After that moment, like before they go to the doctor, Jack is like, suddenly he found that he didn't like the Overlook so well anymore, as if it wasn't wasps that had stung his son, wasps that had miraculously lived the bug bomb assault, but the hotel itself. It's like exactly what I wanted him to say, as if it's the hotel itself. Okay, so what are my other main impressions? They go to the doctor or whatever, and like the doctor has a good long talk with Tony. So we find out that like, yes, Tony, even if he did exist before they the accident with his father, he was showing Danny like nice images, like good things that were gonna happen, but it wasn't until after they moved to, I guess, Vermont, and they had the breaking of the arm, that Tony started to show Danny bad things and nightmares and stuff that like he wants out of. So anyway, the other thing that I found weird, and I'm like, am I just not getting it? Is there something I should be figuring out? But obviously the doctor has a talk with his parents, and the doctor is like, I had an imaginary invisible friend as a kid, although this is totally not what this is, really, kind of. The doctor says, of course you too must understand why Danny's invisible friend is named Tony instead of Mike or Hal. The doctor says, have you ever pointed it out to him? No, Jack said. Should we? Why bother? Let him realize it in his own time by his own logic. What do you mean? What do you mean why his name is Tony? What do you mean why his name is Tony? Is there something, should I be cluing into that? Like, why is he coming to Danny in the guise of like this, I think Danny says he's around 11, this like 11-year-old boy, so older than Danny, like showing him all of these images. Why is he called Tony? Am I missing it? I'm like, why is he called Tony? It's freaking me out. You know what? Schizoid behavior is a pretty common thing in children. It's accepted because all we adults have this unspoken agreement that children are lunatics. Just this whole passage on like Danny's mental health, this whole paragraph where we're like, we adults have an unspoken agreement that children are lunatics. Rilke speaks about this a lot. Rilke is my favorite poet. The hawks are circling. You know what? Yesterday, I saw a wasp's nest abandoned because it's the winter here, and it freaked me out. It freaked me out because I'm like, I know that thing is empty, but what if it's not? What if it's not empty? He says, children have invisible friends. They may go and sit in the closet when they're depressed, withdrawing from the world. They attach talismanic importance to a special blanket or a teddy bear or a stuffed tiger. They suck their thumbs. When an adult sees things that aren't there, we consider him ready for the rubber room. When a child says he's seen a troll in his bedroom or a vampire outside the window, we simply smile indulgently. We have a one-sentence explanation that explains the whole range of such phenomena in children. He'll grow out of it. He'll grow out of it. There's just so much in there. There's so much in there that I'm like, oh, it breaks my heart. I think children have some of the toughest jobs in the world and they're not even expected to work yet, right? But I think being a child is so lonely. Rilke talks about this so much, how being a child is so lonely. You're just in this world that is dictated by adults and you don't understand their rules, and vice versa, because adults just think you're a lunatic. I'm honestly liking this a lot more than the film, and I do really like watching the film. It's an iconic film. There's so many wonderful things as like it's such a wonderful visual pleasure, but I think the novel, I'm just like understanding so much more. I think what I'm really appreciating as well is because like we're in the novel format and we have so much more time to spend with the family, we get to see like Jack's descent into really struggling with his addiction so much more over the months, because in the film, I think a lot of it just feels like it happens a bit too quickly, like his snapping. And when I watched it for the first time, I was like, I don't know how young I was pretty young, but I wasn't really understanding what was going on. And I was like, why is this guy just going crazy with cabin fever? I think in the novel, especially because it's the autumn still and the snows haven't set in, although like we're getting closer, they have the opportunity to go down to the little town of Sidewinder, which is such a cool town name, and see people and like have interactions and get out of the house, so to speak, before they are locked in completely, whereas that's not shown at all in the film. So I'm just having a good time, and like it's so addictive. We get to the part where we start to talk so much more about the hotel itself, which is exactly what I'm here for. So I was wondering why The Shining started with like an excerpt from Edgar Allan Poe's Mask of the Red Death, like his short story. I was like, okay, what is going on here? Like, what are we referencing? But around this time, Jack finds a scrapbook, or what do you call it? Yeah, a scrapbook in the basement, like near the boiler. He goes down there, and also down there are so many pages and ledgers and records and bills of the hotel dating years and years back. Like, it's just a mess down there. It's papers scattered all over the floor, but he finds this scrapbook that is seemingly weirdly detailing every event of the hotel's history. So, for example, we have this whole paragraph in like 1945 that's showing like photos and like an unmasking and a dancing at midnight for the hotel's like grand reopening, and it says that he could almost see them in the dining room, the richest men in America and their women. And then there's so many like descriptions of just absolute luxury. Now that the war's over. Later at midnight, unmask, the mask coming off, and the Red Death held sway after all. It has pages and pages of the hotel's history, which we learn is very unsavory. I feel like a lot of hotels, and this is another reason why I'm so interested in them, I think I was talking before about how they are able to change function while maintaining the same like form. They are this building that, like most buildings, are just meant for one thing, right? If you live in an apartment, you live in an apartment. If you're going to the hospital, you're going to the hospital. But if you're going to a hotel, you don't really know what you're going into, because yes, it's a place for you to sleep maybe, but a lot of people make hotels their permanent residences, so that even changes like the duration of your stay. But not only that, hotels are outfitted with this ability to change at will into whatever form it needs. Like it can host weddings, it can host, in this case, more nefarious manifestations of humanity, shall we say, because we have this whole kind of like fraud situation going on, and then for a while the hotel becomes this like secret ring of prostitution for a little bit that we find out about. It's this ever-changing building that like you don't know what you're gonna get or what it's gonna become, and it is liable to be requisitioned into whatever form someone needs it to be. Like even, for example, during wartime, a lot of times hotels are requisitioned into like army bases and stuff like that, and they become huge symbols of a war. At this point, we don't really know who's putting together the scrapbook, like what aficionado, what obsessive person who loves hotels so much. It was me, I put the scrapbook together. He flips to a page and he sees like a time when the hotel was completely run down, falling apart before it got revamped into kind of the hotel he's looking after now. And he's so upset at this like image of decay of the hotel. And it seemed that before today, he had never really understood the breadth of his responsibility to the Overlook. It was almost like having a responsibility to history. Exactly. Anyway, so he finds out all this information about the Overlook, and then really stupidly, he calls his boss or the person who employed him, and he's like, hey, I know all of this dirty secrets about the hotel that you want to keep hush hush. Turns out that people were murdered in the hotel, and that's what his son Danny is seeing. Like, there's already been lots of visions that Danny has been seeing of like brains all over the wall, for example. Threatens him with all this information that he knows and is like, I want to write a novel about it, because his play that he's been working on, that Jack has been working on, has been going really well, and now he's like, oh, I kind of want to write a novel, and I kind of want to write a novel about a hotel. No. They should leave the hotel. Guys, did anyone tell them that? Did anyone tell them they should leave? My goal today is to finish The Shining. I think it can be done. I'm now 436 pages through, and oh man. Okay, so there was a moment, right, when everything could have been fine. Everything could have been fine. They could have gone down the mountain. They could have escaped, because someone has opened the door. Someone's opened the door and let all the shit that was festering inside this hotel room, number 217, out. All of that stuff is out. Congratulations, you've done it. You've unleashed the monsters of the Overlook. Start with like the topic of fear, because I said at the start of this video I wasn't really sure whether a Stephen King novel or whether this one in particular could make me like scared. And it's not like, here's the thing, I think I was saying this before, but it's not the like dead lady, the dead corpse, the manifestation of someone long past, like in the bathtub, for example, of room 217, because that's what's in there. It's the rotten, bloating, naked corpse of a woman who was poisoned or took an overdose, I forget which one, in the hotel with like her lover years ago. And it's not the scary like topiary bushes, the hedge bushes that are trimmed into different looking animals and they move around and they like get you and they want to like kill you. It's not really that stuff that scares me. It's not like the ghostly things. It's not the images, the hallucinations, whatever. It is like, it's just Jack. It's just this man that is so scary. He's so frightening. And of course, like, he's going through it as well, but he's been really keeping it to himself, that he's been seeing the exact same things that his son is seeing, but he's like, no, I'm not going to tell anyone that. I guess because he feels so ashamed. Number two, he doesn't want to leave the hotel. Topic of fear, I'm just getting more and more scared of Jack, and I think that is the ultimate just uneasy, queasy feeling in my stomach, just like uncomfortableness, because he's like this ticking time bomb that is about to go off, and I think that is the real horror for me in terms of like a physical sensation that I would get from reading The Shining. On a bigger level, it is like I don't know, it's the fear of the hotel, I think, and what it means and what it harbors, because like we were saying before, it's just this place where people come and go. Actually, the quotes, the amount of things that I referenced in The Shining, I'm really liking that as well. And Jack constantly has these like mantras and lines and poetry going through his head when he's walking through the halls, when he sees a certain thing. So like, I don't know, somewhere back here, he was like, oh, in the room, the women come and go. And I was like, oh, some T.S. Eliot, The Wasteland. In the room, the women come and go. Talking of Michelangelo. It's just this place where like all of the horrors of the years past and everything that everyone has been through, and like I said, the more nefarious things that a hotel is privy to and can be used as a location for, that's what's like coming out of woodwork. And I think that's what's more scary to me, because the hotel provides a venue to maybe act in a certain way, act in a different way, certainly, and act a lot of the times in a criminal way, if that makes any kind of sense, because it's this place where you can be, in a sense, freed from your own identity to take on a new one in the availability of anonymity that a hotel offers, kind of thing. So what else do I want to say? There's a lot of like just creepy shit, dude. There's a lot of creepy shit. Okay, so like I said, Danny goes into room 217, which he's been warned against going into because of the like super scary images. For example, a maid was like fired from the hotel by the current owner because she saw something in the bathtub. But Danny just like wants to know. He's so curious, and he's like, oh, Mr. Halloran said that the images can't hurt me. It turns out they can, and this is where it gets like so interesting, and I really, really like it, because at the beginning I said I wasn't sure if I was really liking this like supernatural ability or this precognition, among other things, that Danny has. Scratch it, scratch all of it. I really, really like it, and it gets so much creepier because like up until now, Danny has only been seeing images of things, right? Only been seeing things in the past or what Tony has shown him, although Tony has like fled the scene. Tony's gone. Tony's abandoned Danny, and he's not even coming when he's called. So thanks, Tony. Thanks for nothing. But when he goes into room 217, he like sees the woman in the bathtub, and he's like, oh, that's horrifying. Like there's this dead corpse in there. And then he goes to leave, but he can't get out. And before he knows it, he's passed out, and he wakes up like attacked by this woman. Like this woman got up out of the bathtub, this corpse, and like tried to strangle him with like strangulation, marks of strangulation all over his neck, and they are real, and he's like swollen and puffy, and you can tell like someone has tried to choke this kid out. Oh my god, it's like bleeding over into the real. It's like something that is actually tangible, actually exists. Like they're not just images or hallucinations anymore, which I really like. But it also begs the question, like, did the woman in the bathtub, the dead woman, the ghost, I guess, if we want to call her that, did she do that to Danny? Wendy sees her son with these marks of strangulation, being choked out, and she, of course, instantly blames it on Jack because, like, he has a history of obviously hurting their child, which I don't think is unreasonable. Jack, on the other hand, flips out about this. This guy. I get it. No, I don't get it. I actually don't get it at all. Just what he thinks about his wife and the way that he treats her. Like, there have been some, like, that's what makes it so sad, because you get these nice moments where, like, they're acting like a very nice, lovely family, and you have these moments of, like, where you can tell the two of them really love each other and they really want to have, like, a stable family life with their son, and, like, you can see how things could be so good, and then the next page, all of it is, like, shattered and ruined. On the topic of Wendy, I just want more. I want more of her. She's the one out of the trio who's featured the least. On one hand, that is pretty purposeful, because she is a little bit jealous of the relationship that Jack and Danny have together. Like, the book is very much about mostly father and son, I want to say, and, like, the sins of the father a little bit being passed down. Among them, alcoholism. Jack's father was also an alcoholic. We learn a lot about Jack and Wendy's family history and their backstory. I just want more of her, and I also don't love, I just find it so irritating that every time that Danny, for example, has, like, one of his fits, or he goes into a little bit of a catatonic state, or he's injured, or he's being stung by wasps, like, it just crops up again and again. I'm like, this is just, I don't think this would really happen. I just don't think it would happen. And I've seen it so much in writing and film, and I'm just like, oh my god, guys, like, come on. Every single time something, like, catastrophic is happening or her son's in danger, literally one of the first things she always says is just like, oh my god, Jack, what do we do? Like, she doesn't do anything. She just turns to her husband and she's like, oh my god, what do we do? Just a stereotype that I'm so tired of, because obviously if you walk into a room and you see your son getting stung by, like, 12 wasps, your first reaction is not to turn to your husband and be like, oh my god, what do we do? You're obviously gonna go help your kid and, like, kill the wasps. We also had, like, other cool quotes that I really love, talking about, like, the ghosts of the Overlook. I don't know if they're ghosts. They're more like the residues of the feelings of the people who have stayed here. Good things and bad things. In that sense, I suppose that every big hotel has got its ghosts, especially the old ones. Freud said that the subconscious never speaks to us in literal language, only in symbols. You have conscious on one side of the net, subconscious on the other, serving some cockamamie. There's, like, a lot of, like, 70s slang in here that I'm just not, I don't know it. Image back and forth. Same with mental illness, with hunches, all of that. Why should precognition be any different? To kids, the image is always more accessible than the concept. When we grow up, concepts gradually get easier and we leave the images to the poets. So Jack, because on one hand he doesn't want to admit that he's seeing, like, the topiary move, that he also saw the dead woman in the bathtub, by the way, he is like, you know what, I think Danny strangled himself. He's like, the walking dead woman is a symbol for dead emotions, dead lives that just won't give up and go away, but because she's a subconscious figure, she's also him, Danny. I just, like I was saying, I love that the images of the hotel, which Halloran were like, oh, they're just, like, pictures in a storybook. No, they're, like, real, whether that's Danny, like, kind of manifesting them into real life. I don't know, there's just so much in there to unpack, because obviously he's been severely injured by his own father before, and now he's in this, like, locked room, essentially, like the hotel as a locked room space, because now we've got snow everywhere and they cannot get out. He's stuck there with, like, his father. Wendy, like, since the start of it, I didn't really mention this, but Wendy has been having, like, these terrible visions and intrusive thoughts of, like, cannibalism, because I don't know what year it was, but it was that tragedy of the rugby players who got, like, stuck together. It was after a plane crash, I think. I guess it must have been around the time that Stephen King was writing this story, because it's, like, really fresh in the characters' minds as a recent event. But she's so worried that the three of them are going to get locked in the hotel, like, run out of food or get stuck in the elevator and have to eat each other. And that's kind of what's happening, because they just kind of are tearing each other apart. They're so dysfunctional. But once again, like, we have these little glimmers where everything could be okay, because after Danny goes into room 217, Wendy's like, okay, we're done. Like, we're done here. There's someone in the bathtub. We're leaving, which is, I mean, probably a sane response. And Jack doesn't want to leave. He is really preoccupied with writing this novel about the Overlook and his aspirations to be an author. I kind of wish that was touched on a little bit more, or we had a little bit more time with this, like, drive of his to be an author, because I think it maybe comes up a little bit too late, and so I'm not really fully into that as a reason why he wants to stay at the hotel. I'm like, oh, okay, I wasn't really knowing you were wanting to be an author that badly. If he leaves the Overlook, then like they're kind of broke, like they're so broke, they have nothing. He's probably not gonna get a very good job because he has quite a bad reputation with his addiction, with hurting a kid, which we learn a lot more about, and then with like abandoning the hotel. Though Jack agrees and he's like, okay, you know what, tomorrow I'm gonna go look at the snowmobile, is it the snowmobile, in the shed, and we can like go down the mountain and we'll leave and we'll take Danny out of here. You know what he does? He goes into the shed the next day, he finds the battery or whatever, or something of the snowmobile, and he chucks it off the mountain. He chucks it into the snow and he's like, well, that solves that problem. I almost finished this last night when I was in bed, but I was like, no, we need to finish it together. We need to do this together. So I have under, oh my god, definitely way under 100 pages left. Like Jack is fully like off his rocker. He's seeing them all. He is no longer present in like his family's reality, and he just wants to be part of the hotel. I have two main questions. Number one is still, why is Tony called Tony? I feel like with that one maybe I'm just being dumb and missing something, because I feel like I should be able to figure that one out. The second thing is that in these visions, except they're not visions anymore, like it's real, guys, it's real. The people in the hotel are real. All the manifestations of the past and all the layers are like stacked on top of one another. I love this discussion of temporality. The other really spooky question, and I'm so scared of it, it's so creepy, is that Grady tells him that like the manager has singled him out. And Jack is like, oh, by the manager you mean Mr. Ullman, like the guy who hired him to be the caretaker. And Grady is like, no, who's that? No. It's like the manager. He's above all of us. He looks after all of us, and he wants you. He wants like your son. It's so creepy. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, who is the manager? I don't know. I'm not like scared. I'm like, oh, I love this. Yeah. And you know how like in the film you have such famous scenes of like, oh, Jack Nicholson with like the axe. In the book, it's not an axe that he carries. It's a roquet mallet. Is it called roquet or roque? In my head I keep saying roque, but it is a predecessor of croquet. So he has a roquet mallet. I'm just gonna say roquet, I guess. He has a mallet instead of an axe. I feel like the axe is a bit more frightening, but I like the mallet because it's a bit more symbolic, especially of like the game and like the ages past that are going on in the hotel. Dude, oh my god, do not go downstairs. Do not go downstairs. Why are we going downstairs? There's no need to go downstairs, girl. Holy, why would you do that? Girl, literally, you better go back to your room right now. A disturbing corner of the eye sensation. That's so good. Oh, what? See, the thing is, even if Jack dies, is he really, if like they kill him, is he really gonna be dead because, well, the hotel just like be like, oh, hello, welcome to our staff, welcome to the hotel, you're now part of the hotel. Ah! Oh my god, okay, I'm like reading at like lightning speed. I have to remember like, okay, don't look at the next page and like spoil yourself. Jack wasn't out there anymore. She was hearing the lunatic raving voice of the Overlook itself. Okay. Tony's here, guys. Tony's here. Okay, we have a chapter from Danny's point of view. I'm very interested. I feel like I'm about to learn something insane. Wow. Oh my god. How I feel about that ending? I don't know. I know I said this was gonna be filled with spoilers, but I'm not gonna spoil the really big, I guess, climax at the ending for you. You can read it if you haven't already, but I don't know how I feel about it. Now that it's been a few hours since I have finished officially reading my first Stephen King book, I just wanted to come on and give you like my last closing thoughts, because I was just like completely immersed, really hooked, and just like needing to finish the book basically. So I actually did really like the ending. I don't think it was rushed or anything like that, but I really do appreciate how it's so different from the film, because you really get so much of the hotel, and like in the end the culprit and much of the cause for Jack's behavior is the hotel itself. Whereas in the film, I think it's much more focused on Jack's withdrawal, cabin fever, snow sickness, and a lot of the blame for the way that he's acting is obviously in his own hands. But in the novel, so much of it is written like it's the hotel possessing him, like the hotel has taken possession of Jack, and like that's why he's acting the way he's acting, which I feel like doesn't come across as much. I don't think that's really the avenue that the film wanted to go down, but I really prefer, I think, the novel's version of the hotel, because it's such a force that has like taken a hold of his body, and Danny and Wendy are like, it's not Jack anymore, it's the hotel. Like he's become the hotel, which is so scary. And there's just so much discussion of the temporality of the hotel and all of the eras placed on top of one another, which I thought was really cool. It was as if another overlook now lay scant inches beyond this one, separated from the real world. All the hotel's eras were together now, all but this current one, the Torrance era, and this would be together with the rest very soon now. I just think it's so spooky. In the end, I don't think this really truly scared me that much. Like, it's not gonna keep me awake tonight or anything like that. I don't think I really got that jump scare feeling, but I'm like, does any book give you a jump? If there's one book that gave you a jump scare feeling, like what is it? The feeling is just that uneasiness. That's what I got from this one mostly, was when like just the thoughts that Jack is thinking about his family, like that's just what makes me feel sick and ill. It's not really the ghosts and all that stuff from the hotel that makes me feel like really scared. I think it's fun and really cool and so interesting to think about and dig at, but it doesn't really horrify me necessarily. So I don't think this really truly scared me. What is the scariest, if you've read a lot of Stephen King, what is the scariest King that you've ever read? Anyway, final thoughts were that I flipping love this. The whole time that Halloran, because like Danny has called Halloran in his mind, like, please come save us, and he does. This man gets on a plane for Danny. I love their relationship, probably my favorite relationship of the whole book, because like Halloran shines, Danny shines, he's kind of like his mentor, and I wanted more screen time with the both of them, honestly. But this man like flies across the country, gets on a train, gets on a plane, gets in a car, and like drives up to the overlook in the worst conditions imaginable to basically save him. And I just thing with the hotel, what happens to the hotel, I'm not gonna say. I guess I'll like save that one major spoiler. I like it a lot. I thought it was really cool. So just this whole reading experience was just like fun, and I honestly thought going into this it was just gonna be like cheap thrills. I had this perception of Stephen King and like maybe The Shining and like I guess kind of Carrie as just being like cheap thrill, but that was definitely not the case with The Shining. This explored so many things that I love about the hotel, and it's so cool, I could write so much more about Danny and everything that went on with the hotel and everything that was discussed and like not discussed, and like the way that his father becomes the hotel. Oh my god, I can't thank you guys enough for making me give this another chance, for making me pick this up. It does beg the question, would I like another Stephen King book if it doesn't feature a hotel? I don't know, so I guess we would have to find out. So if you like The Shining, or if you know kind of like what I'm into in books and stuff like that, what Stephen King book should I pick up next? Like, which one should I pick up next? Which one is your favorite? Where do I go from here? Kind of thing. I think I'm gonna have a big book hangover from this, and I kind of want to read it again. I want to read it again. I liked it so much. It's like right on the cusp of a 5-star for me. Can you believe that? I'm so happy this was the outcome of this video. I really like this. I really like this. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for making me read this book. I'll see you in my next video. Have a good night or morning or evening. And I hope you're reading something really good. Okay, ciao.